Well, hello. Well, hello. Oh shit, echo. No. Shit, echo. No. Shit. Hello, there we go. Hello, my boys. Yes, it's VRChat time again. Oh fuck, wait, I need to calibrate. Where the fuck am I? There we go. Okay, let me change the view. There we go. Woo. Okay, so today is the last day of Furality, this VR furry convention thingy. Oh wait, I didn't post this in Discord, give me one sec. There we go. Okay, there we go, done. So yeah, it's the last day of Furality and I can only attend to the first panel, which a friend of mine hosts, so I have to attend. And yeah, I'm gonna go to one of the meetup rooms. Yeah, one of the lobbies. To wait for it to start. And maybe meet up with people and shit. So let's join this one instance. Boop. There we go. Yoo-hoo! Let's see what we find in here. There's no one on Twitch yet. Okay. This will last like 1 hour. Not more, because I have to work tomorrow and I don't want to die and shit. Let's wait a second for everything to load. Just in case. Let's wait for a sec. Furality, yes! Wait, oh, ooh, cool rings. Okay, I think everything is loaded. I'm gonna unmute myself and go in. Let's go!
Ready? My battery? I'll have to change that soon.
Looks like I don't know no one in here yet.
Change battery.
Look, cool dragons and a big boy.
Rift S, I'm guessing?
It's the regular Oculus.
The CV1.
Yeah.
Same I got.
Is it CD than my Oculus? Because you said CV one. My bad.
3 minutes for the event to begin.
I use the Quest. Oh, I use the Quest with Oculus Link, so I can see everyone. But yeah.
I use a Rift S, but right now it's sitting beside me here, cooling off because it was getting a little hot. The head unit was getting a little hot. Like, because it's hot out here. So.
Yeah, VR in really hot climates is difficult.
Testing.
Like,
I heard. Hello.
Yes.
Also,
But for me, I have to be at my actual persona.
Yeah, I'd
go.
be my actual persona myself, but I haven't got to trying out modding an avatar, making my own avatar yet, so it's the best I have right now.
You can always try using a free
Oh,
avatar.
yes, that's me.
And do it that
Use
way.
it,
This is pretty much.
for me it just involves
It's true.
importing. For me, it involves importing the meshes of my avatar from a different program.
I saw
Basically,
you about this last minute, so I didn't have enough time, even if I wanted to, unfortunately.
That's fine. It happens.
That's one cool
Unfortunately,
Hopkin.
I can't figure out how
Look at the
to
wings.
import
It's so fucking cool.
my avatar from.
One of the things I
other
love the most about
thing that
this
I use it on
event is seeing
to
so many
via-
cool
like
avatars.
via
Like, look
Blender
at this.
to Unity.
You have
I
to.
mean, many are
you
just
have to
edits,
put
but
it as an
they're so
FBX.
fucking cool.
Yeah.
No, I'm
you
trying
also
to
have
figure-
to
Be
get.
a mod in the program for that.
I know that part,
Why is
but I
my
can't
avatar
figure out
so
how to get it from the other program I'm using into Blender. because it's a program like this. It's called Second Life.
I know that you have to use a mod called a crowbar. What model are you trying to get? Because I have the Sephora snake and the cobalt.
Love you all.
Actually, the Seawolf biped dragon.
I love you.
I don't think I've heard of that.
You guys
one.
are so fucking nice to me.
Is that
I
like a
love
new
you
one that
all.
they've added?
Oh, it's an old. Actually,
You guys
it's an old
are
one. Based on
fucking nice to me, and I'm so unappreciative.
I've been on and off of that game.
What just happened?
But the dragon version of the Sephora
guys are
snake was
so
given to me.
nice.
I really want to use that for a model myself because I really like that.
And
But
I'm
it's a
so
pain in the
sorry.
ass. But you have to get an add-on called a crowbar, if I remember
I'm so
correctly,
sorry
to
I
get
have to
stuff from
interrupt,
games.
but I'm just I love you all so much, and you're such nice people.
The other thing I'd like to do is I have other avatars on there as well that I'd like to that are originals to me, like custom, that I'd like to import to here.
I'm teetotal, but thank you for the offer.
Nice.
Like
This
what I
is
do
so
is
nice.
buy
I just I can't even like I come
What I
up
would
here
usually do is
instance, the sonority.
and
what I would usually do is
you guys
buy
are
the
so
base
fucking
avatar
nice.
and then create
And
custom
I love you
skins.
all for that. And I get to come in here and I get to talk to you guys. And it's nice to meet. And I finally get
on
to.
the avatar.
I don't know what's happening.
I'm so sorry. I'm too loud. I'm
A
too
good
loud.
start you could try
Oh.
is with this
Oh, shit.
model. This model's
I'm
actually a
at
really
a
good model.
gym.
Here we go, guys.
Alright, the event.
Yes, they're just
Yeah, it's just
The
a
boys.
Q&A of all the
I need to turn it up.
shit.
And we're live.
No, I already got one from high use.
Too bad, Zach. You get another one.
Already get so many.
I was thinking when Shellfoot was going to get on because it seemed like she was the last person to
My
get
VRChat
on.
is freaking out.
They made it in time.
There we go.
Welcome to VRChat.
I love you guys. You guys are so
Hey.
nice. And
Volume in the world has been a little low.
Get
I'm
so low.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna try to see if I can get
Too
on there.
loud. I'm so sorry. But
Let them go.
You're right.
I get to be a part of this.
Seriously, where's our music?
You guys are so nice. Hey,
Yeah.
and I get to come here.
I see a lot of familiar faces here today, but I also see some
I
new
know
ones.
you guys are.
Oh, pal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see the London and the hoodie.
Oop, I accidentally turned on my full body.
Depot's boy.
Who is Furality?
Here they come.
We sold 16 tickets!
2 people just joined. 3 people just joined.
How do I sit down?
Oh, there's so many places.
Yeah,
I
there's
love
a
you
chair.
all.
You
I
can
love
click on him with your trigger.
Yeah. The website
You're
is
also welcome to stand
takes
if
me
you're
forever to
comfortable.
load. I
You
get
guys so-
crashing.
A lot of people joining, Rusty.
Yep.
He's frozen.
Yes.
Oh, there.
I'm very intimidated.
Oh no, they're starting to flood in.
Oh, there you go.
Ah, there it goes.
Yeah.
Sasha made it.
It's just printing people.
Oh no.
My GPU is
It always breaks on the dot.
Oh jeez.
Appreciative of that.
I'm Ruffy.
Told him to get here.
I can't even see what chairs are
Damn. Just showing.
I love you all, and I'm not. I'm not
too
even
short.
talk usually, but now I can.
This is so cool.
They're in a different world entirely.
Alright, time to invite you guys.
I know the
All
world.
the invites. There we go.
Rusty had to get me out of there
I remember
before
so
they
many
started up.
people. Sweet
I suppose that makes sense. If they put them in a world that was stuffed with a bunch of other people, then they probably have
I can already hear my computer start to stream.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at my fans real quickly. That way I don't
No
have to-
Q&A so we don't get people saying, what's your favorite episode of
Half
this
of the
Ricky?
people in here, except for
Hey, that reminds me. Put the link. Put the link to the question and answer. Put the link to the question.
I put that up in my Discord.
The link is also up on the Twitch channel.
Guess I'll move then.
Hey, short avatars in the front. Okay, I guess all the avatars.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Middle, but
Please be courteous for other viewers who are here. If there's any short people that you'd like to allow to sit up front in your place, that would be awesome. And there's always room to stand if you'd like, as well as some other chairs along the wall.
Also, we recommend turning off your name tags through the name opponents and raising your safety settings so that you can get the best out of this panel.
I'm just a bit tad short.
No.
Thank you so
I can
much.
technically sit anywhere.
For the longest of times, and they're really good guys.
Hello.
This event apparently is happening physically, well, not physically, in one room, but there's only one room, obviously, and the rest are watching like me right now, and all those wonderful boys.
Oh boy.
Hello.
We should introduce Alright, let's go over to the Q&A. So people have got questions from the audience and from this online board. So like, the question will be from the online board.
Each of the most populated. So Whitney is for the beans, Arthur for the best boys,
Been to events.
Michelle for the Shivas, Dashi for the Volleys, Stickers for the
What they're called?
the Long Boys or something
I won't be
like
happy
that.
until I get him to
Or, yeah, the Long Boys. And then Spang for the Kangaroos.
It could be like Warren.
So many people stuck in spawn for me.
I believe the instance is full.
Oh no, really?
The instance is full. We've already closed the
To anyone in the stream, hello, and thanks for watching, my boys.
People come down and get started with the panel because the
Hey, Chef, can you do me a favor and check and see if there's people
They're
stuck
all
up there in the spawn for
community
you, or they
managers
just,
or owners
Don't need to
of the
go
actual
there, just
community.
this
So like
Let's
Rusty,
go to the camera, because I want to make
he's the owner and maker of the best boys.
Screen button.
Hey,
Angel Dragons.
Screen button.
There is
Shelfer
one
is
person.
a manager for the
There's a bunch of
Shivas.
questions there for me. I might need to reload my game.
So nice to
There's like a lot of stuff.
You might want to be a little careful with that, because you might not be able to rejoin the instance if it gets hard capped.
No, I can still
I don't
I
know.
don't appreciate it enough.
Yeah, it's full.
Maybe next year they'll have the Nargacuga.
Yeah, we can't. You're
Who knows?
I'll remind you, you'll have to start the
Because the
panel.
Nargacuga, it just started this
Oh,
year.
I can
so-
hear now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are so nice to me.
It's based off of a monster from Monster Hunter.
That's my understanding. I haven't actually played Monster Hunter.
I have. It's really fun. I recommend it.
Okay, hello, I'm
so nice.
Here we go.
It's so sweet.
We're going to be talking about
Like, I will
VRChat
show you a good
communities, VRChat
example of
community
mine.
management, just
I
in
will
general, how
never be
these kind
more
of things work and how maybe
appreciative
you could
of
work these kinds of things.
you guys.
Just going over like how these communities can run themselves, or maybe how you run them and how we run them. So we're gonna hand things over to Whitman over here to get things started with. Whitman.
I like that.
Hello, I am Whitman, or Hawaiian Hyena.
It's shiny.
I am an admin and community manager for the Hyena Emporium and or Land of Cackles.
It's free.
Hi, I'm Rusty. Rusty Fox. I lead the Best Boys, the Best Boy project right now. I've been running it for about 2 years now. This community is really important to me. It's been a really big and influential part of my life the last 2 years or so. It really does mean a lot, and yeah.
Hiyo! My name is Shellfoot, and I am from the Shiba Squad. I'm an event and general coordinator, as well as moderator for all our Shiba shenanigans and activities.
Hi, I'm Dashi. I'm the leader of the Avali army. We created it about 2 years, no, a year and a bit ago, and I create textures and I also stream on the side.
Hello, I'm Hayu, also known as Hayu Martin. I'm a spaceflight furry content creator, and I founded and currently run the Escape Velocity furry spaceflight community, and soon to be the Longboy community as well.
Hi, I'm Spaghetti. A couple months ago, established a kangaroo community based around the avatar I made, and I make avatars.
Yeah, or watch on their Twitch channel.
Very nice.
Yeah, turn up the wall volume.
Well, since we're starting canonically, I will start with the Hyena group. The Hyena group got involved in this game in September 2017. It just kind of was haphazard at the beginning, and I only got wind of it in January, so 5 months later, so... I was their 70th member. I had just come from GTA and helping with a few YouTube groups, so... The founder, Darn Hyena, put it up to me to go assist him with his community.
I mean, we can
One of the first things that I and others put up to him was to make a lot of his models that he had made in between September and January, to make them open and free to edit. And that was our idea of building a community, as opposed to other occurring communities. VRChat, in my experience and in others, has been an educational opportunity, because once you're able to learn Blender, you can do so much more. Like, you can actually create, and that's tangible. Some people have been able to print with what they made in Blender. But I myself sacrificed that learning at a certain point, because I only could do textures with my graphic design talent.
My badge.
I preferred to go build up the
Oh,
community.
no, you are cute, Ember.
We started out rough early, and
I was like, why is my badge
VRChat had an old set of TOS in September that said you cannot have external links in your server, so in the maps. So I had to manually give people the Discord link, either by adding them on Discord or just telling it how to spell it, which always was a pain. I was not even a moderator at that point. But at a certain point, then they finally were like, well, you've done enough work, I think you can be a moderator. And then a whole year after I had joined was when I was made an admin and the community manager. I can't really think of proper events, but we did have a few members that brought up different things to keep our group interested as we got bigger and bigger numbers. Darn himself would come into the world. It was not as a scary place per se. You could hold public sessions of our Hyena Day map, and people would, kind of pour in and just kind of go all over the place.
Can you see alright, by the way? I'm talking to the people on the stream. It is okay, or is any of these annoying, or
we are canonically
I wanna hear your
painted
feedback.
hyenas. So that is why on my character I will wear paint on my face. Our timeline is about
Oops, I missed that.
tribal, medieval, but mixed with Victorian.
Yeah.
And because it is in sub-Saharan Africa, we have a blend of French and British colonial mix.
Body language.
We had, later on, to get more interest and to hold interest in the community, we had talked to a real-life nature reserve in Tanzania in the Ngoro Crater, and we based our casual role
Oh, by the way, this is also in the Furality Twitch account, if you don't want to see
the way that we were
all
able
of
to hold the community and build
the
a
people
membership.
around and shit.
And
But
I'm
I think
always
it's
proud to see a lot of
cool to see
different
them.
members. Many of these on the panel included how they were able to grow up so much and learn so much from
And I also
starting
like
out with
to
us. I'm
have
always
viewers and
honored to
shit.
see how far they've excelled.
I mean, now Shale's fit in this world now.
I guess it's my turn to talk now. So I'm as you know, I'm Rusty. I've been involved with the Best Play group for about 3 years now. I started running it about 2 years ago after the original Best Play group, which was started around 2017, had shut down due to drama, and there was a lot of issues with that. But I basically helped rebuild this community back to where it is now by kind of reaching out to people. Mainly what I do is I bring people together and connect the group to help people make things. Like, I personally don't have a lot of modeling skill myself. A lot of what I do is I bring people onto our projects and help build things together with other people.
So glad
For me, the Best Play community has been a really big part of my life. When I started playing this game, I really wasn't in the best place mentally. This group has really helped me build up my mental health and become a better person, I feel. And I really can't thank everyone enough who's helped me through that journey, and it's really been a wonderful experience for me. And I hope to help people have a good time with the group and help people learn and create new things. That's one of my favorite things, seeing people create new things out of what we give them to base off from. And like with our best play lore, we kind of have we're working on actually reviving a lot of it. It's kind of like a whole thing we're working on right now. We're gonna have a lot of cool stuff with that soon that we're working on. We got a lot of new stuff coming out soon for the best plays. I think that these next couple months are gonna be very interesting for our group as we continue to grow and develop. And I mean, we are in right now the best play project, which is the one I run, has been around for about 2 years now. We're not as old as the Hyenas or some of the other groups here, but it really does mean a lot to me to be part of this panel and be help running this panel.
Oopsie, interruption.
As you can see, I am a Shiba. I actually didn't always start off as a Shiba or donning the Shiba avatar. As Whitman referenced earlier, there are some people on the panel who start off as Yins, and I am one such individual. Upon joining VRChat, I was among the Yins, and I actually began to learn and diversify my skill set within texturing from 2D to 3D, and over time, I actually ran into an individual in one of the hyena worlds. He was a blonde Shiba with a pink collar, and I wonder now if you guys can tell who I'm talking about. It was Pika Petey. And he was demoing off around Halloween of 2018. He was demoing off the Shiba avatar he had been working on. He later confided in me that he was working on it to diversify his skill set in the workplace, as well as see if he could translate some of his 2D animation talent into a 3D creation. He had been putting a lot of love and effort into it, which seeing that firsthand within VRChat is what made me want to dive headfirst into this community. In doing so, I had no idea what I was getting into. I obviously had been a part of the Yins, but the Shibas was a different experience because we started off as a close-knit group of friends that eventually, gained traction from a YouTuber named Rectal Bisque and began to blossom forth into a whole big family that is far beyond even what I can comprehend at this point. And along that journey, I admittedly was actually quite absent from the Shiba community as a whole. I was there in the beginning, getting to be a part of the amazing photo shoots and little get-togethers, but due to some other circumstances, I wasn't around very much. But when I did return, I noticed that the growing number of individuals, it was going to need to be managed to some degree. And even though PD, as the creator of the Shiba avatar, he did not always have the power or resources to be able to, keep a watch and try to wrangle in everybody. And just to add that extra support to this already bolstering group of beings, I decided to try and offer what help I could, just on a meager level, from communicating with various individuals to resolve issues, debacles between them, and try to redirect them to the appropriate places to alleviate some strain from any contention that may arise in the community. And over time, little did I know that Petey had been overseeing my efforts, and I'm very, very appreciative that he welcomed me onto the team. And as I mentioned earlier, as a part of the Yin community, the Hyenas, and that gave me insight into hosting and coordinating events, which also led me to hosting a few little get-togethers for the Shibas, as well as participating here on this panel. So what I'm saying is, no matter what community you start out in, you can end up in just another, but still look back on the past and what you've learned to put your efforts forth to the future and help grow a new, wondrous community.
I can honestly say mine's pretty similar to theirs. I started off as a Nanachi, not exactly the model of choice at the time, but I got into that community, I enjoyed it. Around December time, I'm speaking to my friends, I saw this raptor on, sort of space raptor on Starbound and such. I said, I thought that would look good in here. And little did I know he ended up making it. I was really intrigued with the model, so I decided to start building the community through that. I made the Discord. I started speaking with other friends, and they seemed intrigued with the model. I thought it'd be a small little group, you know, a group of friends started as well. It grew and grew into, well, a massive community now, and I'm glad to see it's pretty much everywhere. We've also got like maps based on like space themes. We got meetups every weekend, which is nice to have a communication with everyone.
That's alright.
We've gone for
Gonna hand
words.
off.
Yeah, go on. My mind is.
Right. So, about 2 years ago now, maybe 2.5 years ago, I was part of a furry space community. There was one already, because a lot of us are fans of spaceflight, and this isn't necessarily VRChat related in the start. But this space community I was a part of on Telegram had been created because there was some drama with some previous space community, and they were like, "Oh no, us admins, we can do it better than they could," and so they made their own new one. And so that's the history I knew about it. And eventually I became a moderator of that community. I posted a lot of, I contributed a lot of stuff. I reported on space content. I shared a lot of news and things in there. And one day, about 2.5 years ago, I found myself banned. And the reason I was banned is effectively there was some mix-up, some argument between the main owner of the group and a friend of mine, and just speaking in that group reminded him of that mix-up. And, I'm just like, what? Like, is this for real? And I found out that all the other moderators and admins were also demoted from their positions. They couldn't add me back. And it got me thinking, like, surely this isn't like an endless cycle for communities where there'll be drama, people will start a new one, more drama, more people start a new one. It can't just go on like that forever, surely. So I waited a month. I didn't want to just immediately go, oh, I'll make my own space community with blackjack and weasels. But I ended up making a new one about a month later on Discord called Escape Velocity. And we're a community where we have a general discussion, we share space flight specific memes, we talk about all the stuff that's going on, and it's generally the kind of community where people are a bit more optimistic about the future. And my experience in running this has been pretty nice. We've learned quite a few things though. The kind of people that are attracted by something as niche and nerdy as furry and space together, you got a lot of people who are not necessarily the best at socializing. I myself am one of these people. And something we'll often find is people interrupt each other, or people want to constantly talk about themselves, because a lot of us don't have very much experience with being able to see the world from other people's perspectives when talking. So a big part of my role especially in the voice chat in the Discord server, has always been trying to get people to, put themselves in others' shoes a bit more often. I have made a specific rule where if people don't talk often, you cannot interrupt them ever. Because often the shyest people, the only things they'll ever say are the things that they mean to say. And if they're interrupted, they'll never say it again. I'm just trying to think here. There was more I was going to say. Regarding moderators, if you want to hire a moderator for your community, for example, the best way to do it is to look out for the people who are already effectively acting as moderators. People who are trying to keep the tone correct, people who are trying to, make sure that everyone's getting along. Those people are the best chance you have at good moderators to start off with. Something I've noticed about growth with servers, with any kind of community, or even just a YouTube channel, is you can grow very quickly by doing a lot of cheap tricks. There's a lot of ways that you can get yourself out there and grow your community. But if you use cheap tricks, you'll get cheap members. The kinds of viewers to your channel or members of your community will be as much worth to you as the tricks were. If you try and push yourself out there by being sensationalist, the only people you will get will be people who are only there to see sensationalist content. So it's important that you understand in what way you want to grow your community, and even though it may be slower, it may be stronger. And I think that's all I got to say for now. Actually, wait, hold on, sorry, Spag. One more thing. I'm now using this experience to create a new community, which is a VRChat centric one called the Long Boys, which is around this model that I'm working on now to turn something that is a complete sack of garbage, so that people can sort of work on that, get the assets, and do that. So it's hopefully all this experience is going to translate over into that too.
Cool. So I'm Spaghetti. Back in 2017 was the first time I used VRChat, but without finding a community back then, it's just kind of a wasteland and it's really hard to connect with anyone. Then sometime in 2019, I think in June, I got back into the game and found the Shiba community. Made a lot of friends there that I still have today. And then,
oh my god, I was muted. I'm so fucking stupid.
I got the idea to
yeah, but hello, Russia.
Make an avatar for myself.
Oh my god, I'm so stupid. I was muted
in 3D
for a long.
and 2D. Then I went out and picked a species that's very uncommon. There's a lot of foxes, a lot of canines, a lot of dogs and such. And then I made something that was quite uncommon in VRChat, a kangaroo. As soon as I had work-in-progress versions of the kangaroo up, people started asking about when they could get one. Eventually, I started making commissions for people, and then eventually I put the assets out, and the community has been growing since. So it's quite a young community, about 3 months, and I'm not sure how many members, somewhere in the range of 150. Managing the community has been quite simple so far, very smooth sailing, almost no drama. And yeah, it's been good. I don't know what my social life would be like right now during, the plague without VRChat. I think it would be very, very bleak. So I'm extremely grateful to have access to this platform. And yeah, I don't really know what else I have to say in those opening notes.
One thing, real quick, if you don't mind me saying something here. If you want to ask questions to the panel, we have a website you can go to called go to qooh.me/community_panel, and you'll be able to ask an anonymous question to our panel, which we will be answering during our question and answer session later. The link, I tried to put it in the Twitch chat, but it didn't let me put a link, so I just replaced where I said dot with a dot, an actual dot to put in there. So that way you can get into and answer the question, ask questions to the panel. That's what I want to hear. Woodman, did you want to continue?
Any additions that you want me to add, or I had written down notes. In regards to how we laid out our admins and moderators, Hayu is correct. With the moderators, there are a lot of people that are that type that will go into the chat and be able to talk one-on-one with a lot of people and be able to sort out a lot of issues and drama. And I'm very appreciative for those people and individuals, but I'm not really in a position to rank them up because there are people above me. We were forced at a certain point to limit our admins and moderators to about 2 admins, which includes me, and Darn is the very top, he's the founder, and then we'll have an even number between 4 and 6 moderators, and they have to be international, so a mix of United States, Canadian, and then a mix of European, so that we can cover the time zones. Our community initially had a very large base of Swedish and Finnish and German, so mixed European. So it helped to have a moderator in that time zone, so that it's the 12-hour difference for me. And also to control somewhat the membership joining and being able to vet people. We have to still manually accept every single member, so I will go through that list daily of new joiners.
I have another thing to add if anyone's ready. Yeah. So something thing I also noticed about I manage several groups now,
I
not just the
love you.
Discord, a few things on Telegram as well. Something I noticed is if you have an
people
ethos in your
sending me?
group, there's a critical time period when a new person joins, when they're kind of, not talking very much, they're trying to get a sense of what the group is like so that they can, understand how they fit in and what their part to play is in the group as well. So your group ethos that is presented to new people who are joining is really important. If everyone is kind of, being wholesome, being nice to one another, and you have a general sense of that sort of optimistic, community vibe going on, essentially, people who join will actually be very likely to take that on. Whereas if you already have some troublemaking going on, if it's clear that people are discussing problems with the administration, or maybe they have a lot of issues. If you're the kind of admin who isn't very good at taking constructive criticism and people are talking behind your back about stuff, new members will pick up on that, and they won't listen to you and they'll misbehave. So it's very important to make sure that there's that sense in the group.
If I may add something? Aside from the basic acts of moderation amongst various communities, we also rely very heavily for those communities that are more public and open-ended with their source files or whatever they may be centralized around. We rely very heavily actually on content creators or people who would just like to learn to experiment and develop what is already pre-existing within the community. Because when these communities begin, it's because the person who creates it has an idea, and thus they wish to share it with everyone. But having the additional assistance to formulate and really develop those ideas are truly what brings the community together and helps to bolster their strength and develop further beyond the initial creation.
Whoever's talking, can you please mute your mic, please? Make sure everyone has their mics muted until we do question and answer stuff. Just as a reminder,
I think they're.
I do hear someone.
I think they're AFK.
Who was that? I can just mute their mic. Yeah.
Oh, here we go. They're here.
Okay, thank you. We have our. I'm pretty sure we have our stuff set up to the max. Maybe you can locally turn yourselves up.
Okay. So, would you think we're ready to open up for questions? Or anything?
I guess we can open up for questions now.
I
did some things I wanted to say real quick first about
sure.
Moderation and stuff. What I do with my moderation on the best way Discord is I rotate my admins every 100 or 200 members. I'll do an open up submissions for new people to become admins. So at that point the community is growing a significant amount, and I feel like it's a good time to open up to get new people on. And I always have my admins reapply so that way they know they're still interested and they're still expected to be a part. And what I really don't like to see is that unfortunately you will sometimes get admins who just don't do anything, just sit on their position and don't really interact with the community at all, which is something I'm really against happening some of the time. But when it comes to really making sure you're getting good admins, don't pick your friends to be your admins. That's something I've learned. Pick people who you expect who you know will do a good job. Don't pick them just because you're friends. You can be friends with your admins. Don't pick your admins because they're your friends. That's something I think I've learned. Especially with pick a team that you feel will be active and keep them to that. Keep them.
I know.
Make sure they're active. Make sure they're interacting with the community and being a part of the community. I feel that's a really big thing. Because you want to make the admins feel like they're part of the community, not that they're separate from the community. Because the admins aren't just they're above the community; they're a part of it. That's something I really want. I feel like I encourage.
I had another thing to add too about the that vicious cycle I mentioned. Communities that keep on forming because of drama, and then they have drama, and then they split off, and new ones form. Yeah. I wanted to make sure that this isn't possible in a group like mine, and so something that I realized is to make sure you have humility.
Oh wait, and Brazilian say, oh, hello to all the Brazilian furries.
Have that person who banned me, for example, he told me that he didn't want me to speak in his group. And I kept speaking.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of furry conventions. I mean, do you mean in real life? Because yeah, sometimes they just go to an hotel and make activities, fursuit and shit like that. It's pretty cool. But this is the first one With the
you are
first
no
VR
longer able to be
convention
in that
ever.
group, with this
VR
other
furry
person,
convention, I
and yet
mean.
this other person hasn't done anything wrong, then it is on you to do the action
I will
yourself
shut up for a
and
little bit now.
to leave their group, because in the end, the thing that's most important is not you, the owner, it's the group as a whole. And if you, the owner, start to become a problem for the group, or the group becomes a problem for you, you need to choose a new owner.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like when it comes to having your group, you really don't put yourself above everyone else. You are just as a part of the group as everyone else is. Don't let yourself get out on a high horse. Don't let people will throw praise. People will try and get on your good side when you're in charge of a group. Like they'll message you and be like, "Oh, we're friends" and stuff like that. When you really haven't learned who they are yet. But when it comes to that kind of cycle, like make sure that you are continuing to be a part of the group and not just like you're above it, because you shouldn't be acting like you're some high and mighty person above everyone else. You're just another person here trying to make something that people enjoy. And if that becomes successful, that's how you do it. And about that vicious cycle thing, the Best Boys had something similar to that vicious cycle. Going on where the group would shut down, do the drama first time, then it happened a second time. And this technically would be around like the third iteration, you could kind of say, of the Best Boy group. And I think we've done a good job of. I think what I find to do good when you have that thing going on beforehand is look back at what happened before, and what can you learn from this? What went wrong? What led to this happening? Learn from those mistakes and then move on by changing things. And that's something I've learned from the Best Boys to do, with the Best Boys, and by watching other communities grow and develop.
Very well said. Do you think it's time to start taking questions?
We can start taking questions. I guess we'll start with an audience one, then we'll go to one from our link in the online link. Then we'll do so. If you have a question or something, please raise your hand, make yourself known. If you're desktop, like do jump up and down or something. I think that could work. I believe who is that? Digby, what is your question?
When did you get on VRChat for the very first time, and is like moderating a community like everyone's community like something anyone can do, or is it something that not a lot of people can do?
I guess we could all answer, or we could all just answer by ourselves, or I guess for me at least, when I started playing VRChat, I really wasn't known at all. I really wasn't really in the mental state to run a community, at least for me. But by looking at other people and working with other people and becoming a part of communities, that really helped me grow as a person and find my place to be able to be at a point where I can start running a community. If you want to start a community, you will make mistakes. There will be things that you do that will be seen negatively. Don't what I see is don't go into it with the expectation to become this big famous community leader person. Don't go into that with that mindset. Go into the mindset with creating things that people would enjoy. Don't go into it to become famous or become a leader or anything like that. But go into it with with a different mindset, because it really depends on how you're thinking of things. That makes these kind of things develop. I guess is kind of the way I could say it.
And I can answer the moderator part of the question. I know moderation is not a job everyone can do. It is essentially a voluntary role. If you give someone the role of moderator, you're telling them, hey, you're going to dedicate your time now to this thing that is probably going to make you feel worse a lot of the time. Moderators can have bad days, and if you just give someone moderator, you put in that expectation on them that they have to be in charge of that. So, you give moderator to people who agree with you that they would like to take on this role. And the thing with moderation is that it's about knowing how people work. Unless someone's just memeing, generally people will not be troublemakers or do bad things because they have a bad intent. They'll do things because they believe they're right about some disagreement or something like that. So understanding that everyone has some reason for why they're doing something, and that everyone is just generally everyone is trying to do what's good for the group, and a lot of the time they may be misguided in how they are trying to achieve that. So having moderators who understand how people work, understand that the person acting out is generally trying to do it on good intentions, that's a very important thing to look for in a moderator.
Yeah, with that, kind of going into who becomes a moderator, when you're dealing with people, you need to have like that kind of skill to like deal with people gently, because people will throw will throw shit at you all the time if you're a moderator. Like, people will be angry. People will get angry at you. People will yell at the mods and stuff all the time.
Just anything to get under your skin.
Yeah, they'll do that stuff like that. Like, I mean, I've been doxxed multiple times because just what I do here. But when it comes to like dealing with people, a lot of people don't have that malicious intent a lot of the time. I was trying to go into these kind of things with like a good faith look at things, like, hey, what might cause this person to act like this besides malice? Like, and what I found is that a lot of people aren't socially, especially in these kinds of environments, aren't that socially skilled to be able to deal with a lot of things. Like, so we'll have people who are acting out not because they want to, because like that's what they're doing. And what I find to be a good way is to like gently tell them, but be forceful about it. If they keep doing it again and again and again, do take action. But also like be gentle about it. Like, hey, this is why this isn't good. Like, explain it to them. I found it really useful when dealing with people.
Should we take a question from the online submission?
Yeah, I'll take a question from the online thing. Let me go pull it up. I have it on my phone. At least I did have it on my phone. Where'd it go?
Oh no, here we go.
While you're pulling that up, should we take another question?
I almost got it. 1 second.
Okay, take your time.
Oh, no, never mind. Yeah, take another question real quick. This is taking a minute.
Okie dokie, who has the question? Oh, I saw this hand go up first. Sin, is that how you say your name? Sin, right? What's your question?
Oh, shit.
I was gonna say, are communities normally grown organically, or can you actually start growing a community from your own ideas? And would you recommend doing so?
Well, that's a bit of a tricky question to answer because it could
How
really
did you find my Twitter?
But as how you
Oh,
mentioned
through the
earlier,
Furality
it all
account,
depends
I think.
how specifically you intend
Yeah, the
to
Furality
grow
account.
your community. So if you're basing it around a group of friends, it can develop into something bigger. But depending on whether you're going to outsource where you'd like to advertise or promote yourself, you could bring in some individuals that might have bad intent or would like to, cause trouble for the community. But so long as the people who are working in the community for the community have the idea of the community's best interest in mind rather than, they themselves being the idea of the community, then there is a much higher chance of success for that community.
Yeah, I have two very contrasting examples to give as an answer to that question. So, Escape Velocity was created. Essentially, I invited my friends as the first people. We also got the admins from the old group on board. But then I wanted to, get the word out to more people who I didn't necessarily already know. And the way I did that was I make YouTube videos, and I tried to put it in the link in the description.
By the way, can you see the screen?
Mention it out, but I didn't mention it in a way that made people feel obligated to join, because I didn't want people just joining for the hell of it. I wanted to make sure that people
we're looking at the
really
Discord community management thingy.
To make grow the community.
I think it's on Twitch too.
And so, we grew quite slowly. It's been 2.5 years or so. We're up to, I'd say, around 450 members now, and it's quite stable now at that level. In contrast to that, there's the Longboy community. So what was happening was yesterday, I was watching Rusty working on this excellent panel world, and he made this sign here, and it said, "Hi, you Longboy," and I was like, wait a sec, no, there is no Longboy community. I'm not finished with the model. It's not released. And I was like, okay, we'll put the other one in there. And I thought, well, he's put both on, so I need both communities. So yesterday I went ahead and made the Longboy community, and we already have like 125 people in it now. Again, that's actually basically formed out of a few core friends, and then they invite their friends, and I already had a list of people who I was going to message who are interested in joining that. So still set up very quickly, but not necessarily inorganic. But I'll get back to you on that one. I'm still not entirely sure. It was pretty fast.
Oh, I also have one last thing to add real quickly. When making a community, it's up to you whether you would like to fill a need or do it out of your own personal interest for the topic of that.
I need a blap emote.
That's all I want to say.
Okay. I got a question from the online thing. I guess we could answer. This one's actually for you, Shellfoot. It says, Shellfoot, what got you interested in the community in the fireplace, and how did you end up in your current position as moderator of it? I'm not really sure what that means, but that's the first question.
First place. The first place.
Oh, first place.
Yeah, fireplace. It says,
I clicked
that's,
something.
Yeah. Typo. I was confused.
I have my camera up here.
There you go.
Too. So what got me interested in the Shiba community was simply the avatar. Being in this platform of VRChat, avatars define who we are and allow us to express and convey ourselves in any way we so desire. And to see, just to come across someone who had put in the effort to create a really expressive model, something I had never seen before, I had a need for it. And thus I wanted to just buy the model, and I never even considered that I would become a part of this family of ours that we now have. I simply just had an interest for the product at hand, but over time, spending that time, even on meager levels with the individuals who were beginning this blossoming community, that's what really got me invested into the Shiba Squad as a whole. I hope that was good.
Wrong
So
button.
cute.
Okay, so any other questions from the audience, or should we do another one from the website?
Let's see. Does anyone have any questions here?
Who's that?
There's a
Who's
person jumping up and down.
Oh, yep. Rune? Hi, what's your question? Oh, sweet. Yeah, absolutely. People leave and join fluidly every day. Like, the community's relatively large now, over 1,000 members. You're gonna get people joining and leaving every day, for the most part. But when it comes to influential people, like bigger people in the community who are, like, active leaving, yeah, that happens sometimes, like, I'll sometimes reach out and say, hey, what happened, what caused you to leave, so I can get their feedback on what might have caused them to lose interest in the community. Yeah, that does happen sometimes. You will lose people when you're building your community. That's something that will always happen. Yeah. I guess so. Any other questions from the audience, or should we go to,
I honestly say, I pretty much have the same as you. Since my server is pretty much a public one for all the models that are allowing for anyone to have, they can come and join as they please. But which I don't mind. The community is already huge as yours is.
Yeah. I think yours is actually bigger at the moment than mine right now.
That's not scale sizes.
Yeah, no, we're not comparing. You're not like we're comparing.
Yeah. And again, it's not just about pure community size. You don't want to try and keep the number as high as possible. That's not what it's about. Especially if things were to, for example, if you really mess up and you don't manage your community right, and you have a lot of troublemakers, or either you're a troublemaker yourself as the owner, having a larger community makes things worse for you. So,
yeah, definitely.
Don't think you need to get as big as possible as soon as possible. It's usually a road to madness.
Like, when it comes to building your community up more, I'd say, like, make you're bringing in people. Make sure you're bringing in people of substance. Like, make sure your community is advertising itself to people who will bring something to the community instead of just like. I don't want to say leech off, but like leech off it.
Oh yeah, there's no option to donate.
Really
mostly because I don't think I deserve it. But hey, welcome to my live stream, which are like basically a completely separate world from my usual videos. But I hope you enjoy them.
Interested in your respective groups. I guess women, you can start us off when we go down the line.
Okay, it's my turn. I had gotten interest in this group because I had heard of it when I still was involved in another game. And I had heard, their founder is this darn hyena who used to be Digi, who I knew must have been 2012, which is 8 years ago. And so I was like, okay, I guess I could be up to like learning more about hyenas. So then I joined them, and I liked a lot of their painted hyena lore, so that's what got me interested.
For me, like, I got interested in the Best Boys because I learned about VRChat first through just like online videos, like the Gun and Knuckles thing. That's how I first saw VRChat. Then I, got the game,
God.
and yeah, that was a time ago. But I ended up getting the game, and I found this little fluffy little Best Boy avatar in the Great Pug one day, and he showed me where they were from. That's how I first got started with the group. I was very quiet back then, and we didn't talk to many people from the larger Best Boy group. I don't think I joined the Discord until like a couple months. It's like about maybe 2 or 3 months before it ended up going down that original Best Boy Discord back in the day. But that's pretty much how I got started with it. And then I get really attached to really good friends from that community. That's kind of what inspired me to help rebuild the group.
Yeah, for me, this kind of coincides with the last question that was directed at me, but I just simply liked the avatar for how expressive and silly it was, and just simply out of coincidence, I ran into Wikipedia as the creator, he demoed it off, and I wanted to try it out.
Mine was mostly, my friend told me about the Avalis on a website, showed me a couple pieces of fan art, since there wasn't so much. I enjoyed the looks of them. I even went into the Google and have a look at their lore, and I really enjoyed it. And then I thought, why not?
I suppose for me, this is 2 questions. On the space side, I've always had an interest in space flight, the engineering, the rocket science stuff. And then, when I started seeing SpaceX doing their massive rocket landings and things like that, really advancing the tech, that really just got me hooked. I saw the places where they were cheering the launches, and I thought, wow, I want to be cheering in that room with them. So that really got me interested in spaceflight as a future sort of direction I wanted to take my life, and I started making videos about it. And around those, I started really getting involved with that sort of furry part of the spaceflight community. There's a lot of managers and people like public affairs officers and stuff within NASA who you wouldn't think, but they're furries. So there's a lot of really interesting people, and actually it's a great place to make contacts too. On the Pine Martin side, when I was much younger, I read a series of books called His Dark Materials, which now is a show. Ooh. And you might know of The Golden Compass being the first book. And the Pine Martin is a creature that features quite a lot in those. So that's sort of how I actually got into the furry fandom, was through those.
For me, it started with when I just wanted to make an avatar that's unique, and then some people were expressing interest and getting their own version, and then as soon as there were a couple people, with the kangaroo, then I made the little kangaroo community Discord, just to kind of keep the community together and to manage stuff and to share extra assets with them and technical support and all that. So basically, I just wanted to make a cool avatar, but then kind of, if you make an avatar that's good enough and it's public, then it can start a little cult around it.
Also, so you could bounce.
Yes.
Boink.
Should we take another question from the audience?
Sure. And anyone else have any other questions here? You there, Hubble Wolverine.
Hello.
My name I can't see. Sorry.
I guess I have a question that is an extension from the previous question. What made you guys stay in your respective communities?
I guess we go down the line again, I guess. Whitman?
Okay, so what made me stay was I felt that Darn was my friend, and he kind of needed help. Like, he had the numbers, but he really didn't know how to keep their interest, or he didn't know how to actually get more in our numbers. So I had stayed through, and I would piecemeal invite individuals. But also, with my limited technical ability, I would offer, when I'd first have joiners, I would offer to do retextures for them. So at least they could see what I would do to edit the model, and then they'd be able to somewhat learn off of that. And so being able to go and help people and learn is the thing that keeps me involved.
For me, what I really fell in love with a lot of the people in this community. It's just been such a I've been seeing a lot of really positive growth in a good direction. Like I found the community to be really supportive of its members, and everyone really helps each other out. We do have like channels who can talk, they have issues. People are in that channel a lot. They do help.
Oh, thank you for subscribing, even though I don't think you are watching right now.
Build a strong bond between our community members. Like I've had people come to me and talk to me about like how this community is really the only place they're able to find friends and able to talk to other people, which I'm really happy to be able to provide that space for them. I think that's really important to me because I wish I had that space for this kind of space when I was in a negative part of my mind. And I'm really grateful and really happy to provide that to people.
For me, I suppose it is just the whole aspect of what the Shiba community was based upon is, you know, it simply was just to be this avatar, you know, that PD was developing
that
to,
blue
you know,
dog boy was with
gain more
Aquas, so
skill
maybe
sets, but
he lagged out
inevitably it brought a lot of
and
people
crashed.
together, and it allowed us to meet and make new friends virtually every week. We could go world hopping together and just sharing more personal conversations because VRChat is a social platform. There's a lot of new people to meet, but it's not always the easiest to meet them of similar interest unless you're looking for a community where there are avatars of similar interest or just general overarching ideas. And so to be able to meet people who just like the avatar but had so much they wished to share, so many unique stories, and just everyone was so individual, it really made me want to stay and learn more about these people and develop and grow our friendships further.
I mainly stayed because I really cared about the community. I found out that lots of people made new friends between them. Or, they'd ask in the chat if they needed help with models and such. I'd gladly help, even go out my own way, and even if I'm half awake, I'll answer them. But I stay because, well, I really see this becoming a big thing. Like, I enjoy seeing them everywhere, communicating with other communities, and it's nice to see them all getting along so well.
I stayed because it was my family. These are, you know, they're friends of mine, and these are people who are the only people who I knew of who cared about the same thing I cared about in the same way I did. I really cared about this spaceflight stuff. It's surprisingly a very fragile industry, and I couldn't really meet anyone else who had that same kind of love for it. So, you know, just because one person had the power to throw me out of that doesn't mean that the family isn't still there. And so that's why I stayed, and that's why I continue to pursue that.
Well, I love my community, so of course I stay. I don't imagine ever leaving it for any reason. It's a big extension of my friend group, so yeah, and I'll just be there forever.
Should we take a question from online?
Yeah. I think he muted.
Oh no, I'm very sorry.
Oh, no.
I'm taking a sip from my water. I just didn't want to hear anyone of me go slurping my drink real quick. But what the question was how do you effectively bridge in-game content and Discord? Women, I guess you could start us off.
I think that in the way that my community ended up functioning was in game we had the map, you know, that was themed, and it was themed, and we were like, okay, so if we're in Africa, we're actually gonna go and talk to actual people that are having a sanctuary and a study in Tanzania. And so trying to tie in game and Discord is both in keeping with our casual roleplay and canon, but also tying into the Discord is really the source of the expanding of models. So we have the various V1s that were all the villagers, then we have the few V2s, V3s, and V3 was where more community members contributed and they started making their own edits. And I give a lot of space to Darn, the founder and model maker, because he doesn't make anything from this. This was all free models, so it was up to him to take leave for a while to go make money in another game with other models. He came back recently, and because of the whole staying inside COVID, and he saw these other people are making models to sell, so that is why we have the new revamped model now that he converted. So we usually bridge between in-game and Discord, because Discord or through his web page is the only way you get these models.
The way I bridge between Discord and VRChat is I'll have my link in our world prominently displayed, and like offering that the model is saying, hey, the model's here, you can get this, you can make your own version of it. I really do love seeing people make their own versions of the model. It's one of my favorite things to see, is like all the beautiful creations people will make out of the Best Boy model. And of course, like going back to what you said about the free thing, is I'll never make any money off the Best Boy stuff. I don't make any money from the Patreon. I don't make any money from any of that. All of it goes directly to a fund, which goes to getting more stuff made for the Best Boys. Like art, maybe new models and clothing stuff. Like the V4 was all community funded, for the most part. And even I actually lose money sometimes on it by like spending money to get stuff made for the community. But yeah, back to the Discord thing. Like I would do is like we'll have the link prominently displayed in the world and other places, and we'll encourage people to join it. Like what I found is that new people, when they view the world, people will come up to them and invite them to join the Discord, because it is a welcoming community. And it's still very welcoming to the newcomers too, which is very, very good to have.
For the Shiba Squad, we are centralized around Pika PD's Patreon, and once you pay the $10 fee to get in, you get access to the assets in there. There are some public Shiba iterations out there in the world, but you know, for custom aspects, you have to be a part of our actual Discord community. And similarly, in a similar case to Rusty's standing, is the funds that PD procures from the Patreon will go towards future projects. Similarly to some of you who may have seen, he had a Halloween version of the Shiba Paradise World, which is actually where the public iteration, the first public iteration of the Shiba,
Ember,
is featured.
and hello
But
James,
aside from
welcome
that,
to the live
in order to
stream.
join the community and to keep us connected
We're
to
watching
VRChat, there is a little bit more disparity because we're
an
not
event right now
entirely public,
with
because
the
there is
boys.
that sort of barrier. But aside from that, I don't see that there's
Those boys.
too many issues aside from that. Given that there is sort of like a paid access to the community, there are some subgroups or sub-communities that form of friends who have public Shibas or have been commissioned secondhand a Shiba avatar. But the community as a whole still centralizes around our main Discord server.
Ours is pretty, I'd say, a lot shortened. We've mainly got an avatar world that has the Discord link permanently always open, since we have no interest, like no way of letting people pay to come in or out. Same with the funds. Any funds that we've been receiving recently for the new model have been going straight into the model, to the makers of the model, like paying for them to work on it and such. But any model they see on the avatar world is all free to use. Even if they join the server, there's all the free assets that other people have been nice enough to let it out to the public. And that's about it.
Currently, with the VRChat community I'm running, it literally just started, within the last 24 hours. So I guess I can only really talk about plans. Which is, I don't have any plans. I have absolutely no idea. But it would be some combination of, people getting together and saying, hey, we're going to get in VRChat now, and then they'll get in there, and then they'll friend each other. And I'm sure I do plan on actually making a home world for these creatures. It's going to be Mars, because space, it has no bearing whatsoever on the species. They're not from Mars. There are actually no confirmed animals on Mars, but that's kind of where we're going to start linking up, maybe putting a link to the Discord in there, or, hell, maybe I'll decide that new people coming into the Discord have to come in through Patreon. Who knows? That's currently up in the air, but it's certainly good to know that there's a lot of different ways you can do it, depending on what kind of style you want to manage a community in.
So with the Kangas, access to the Discord is free, but generally people only get there through the Discord link that's in the Kanga download from Gumroad, which is where people get the avatar. And then on the Discord, it's very important. You know, it's the like hub of communication, and like most of the day, you know, I'll be working on whatever, and Discord's always open there in the background. And it's just, you know, some lower percentage of time will actually be in VR. So Discord very important for any VRChat centric community these days. I think I'm pretty sure every single VRChat centric community has a Discord that is important to it functioning and people communicating.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Any questions from the audience, real quick, or should we do another one from the Discord? From the Discord, from the website.
We might want to take one from the website because we had a bunch of those.
Yeah, sure.
rolling.
Yeah. We have like more than we get a lot of questions coming in through there. Like, wow. All right, let's go look. This one is for why wasn't there a Nanachi community manager on the panel? The reason we didn't have someone from the Nanachi community is we really didn't have anyone to talk to for that. But I found with the Nanachi community and other like similar communities, like the Nanachis and some other ones, they aren't really centralized around one person. They don't or not one community. Like they're really spread out more than having like one central group. I kind of feel the Shibas can do that sometimes by having like they're a bit more spread out and not really centralized. But I found with the Best Boys and like the Hyenas and some other ones here that we are very centralized around our Discord. A lot of our community members, when they're part of the community, are part of the Discord. But it really isn't something that for some other communities like the Nachis. That's why they were able to get a Nachi community representative for this. This next one is for Whitman. That was a quick one, so I'll just run off to another one. How does it feel pretty much running the Yin community now? Is it is it a lot of work, or is it pretty much running itself now?
In context of the quote running itself is when you're the community manager is I have a balance of I will be on the Discord and I'll be available and I'll be monitoring a lot of channels, but I leave a lot of the responsibility to my moderators who I have had for a while. I do not rotate them like other groups will, but they do stay on top of things, and our group kind of self-balances itself. There's not really many people that bring up too much issues, and if they do, it's mostly just questions on the model or questions on like assistance. And we have a lot of people in there that are open and available to help.
Yeah. Any other questions for the audience before I do another one from the website, real quick? Just
someone left.
Oh, we have one.
Jumping up
Maxwell?
and down. Maxwell? Oh, okay. Yeah, so we'll do 1 and 2. Hey, what's up, Max?
Yeah, hey, so kind of a two-parter, if you don't mind. They're kind of small questions. Do you guys have any, and I don't want to say end game, but do you have like any big achievements that you're striving towards at the moment? And do you have any words of wisdom for people starting a community?
I guess we could go down the line again, Whitman.
Oh dear. When I've been working with.
Hello. Welcome, Laser Turtle Twisting.
It's all good. In regards to this specific Discord, is I know a lot of the individuals, and I've seen it grow so much, and we'll have people come and go. There really isn't an end goal because it's just kind of as things happen. Everything is so staggered. I forgot what your other part of the question was, though.
Oopsie.
Words of wisdom for anyone trying to start a community.
Well, starting a community is
Some people
not
don't
really
know
for the faint of
how
heart,
to
and
call and
as it
shit.
was said before, it's
Me
not
how to knock on
something
the
that
door.
you do to quote, gain fame or become popular. When you're making a
Čo kuravata?
community or like hosting one, it's different than just a friends Discord, which is what most people do. They'll branch off and they'll make a friends Discord. But a community as a whole has to have a goal and has to have running out of words. Has to have kind of a reason and why all these people want to get together, like if they have a common interest or if they have like a somewhat of a learning platform so they can bounce ideas off each other. It's something that you really have to start, and then you do almost immediately have to have a team to manage it. And to have it properly laid out, I'm not very good at laying out a Discord server. I usually will have to bring in other people because they're better at that.
Yeah, for things we're striving towards right now with the Best Boys, we're really hoping to get out our new Best Boy model, the Best Boy version 4 edition, which is going to have a vast amount of improvements on this model here. We already have a test demo in VRChat right now, but it is not ready for full usage yet. But we're working as hard as we can to get it out soon. We're doing our best to get it out. We're working with a lot of different people on it. It's a very big project. We want to live up to everyone's expectations with it. It's gonna be very good. We have a lot of stuff planned for it. But for Words of Wisdom, we're starting a community. Don't start a community. Start off don't start off. I mean, to word it better, I mean, don't start off trying to make a community, like I said before. Start off, don't go into that mindset. Go into the mindset of wanting to bring people together. I think it's a better mindset to go into instead of wanting to build a community right off the bat. If you build a good group and no, I'm sorry. But if you build like a group of people who are very good around each other, and that they'll bring in more people, and those people bring in more people, that will lead to a community becoming a thing. But just don't set off that mindset to build a community. That won't lead you to building one.
I suppose the biggest goal or thing we've been focusing on with the Shiba community is originally Pika Petey was the sole proprietor of the Shiba model. He would do all the retextures, all the work, and make custom animations even for some of our very own members. But that became very taxing on him, and so our biggest goal was to transition to the phase of self-sustainability and allowing the community members to diversify and create off of the base model that we have. And I feel like we've succeeded in that regard. We have some wonderful, amazing people who have come into the community and have dedicated their time and passion into creating new content and variations of this very own model. My words of wisdom are going to kind of tie in with Rusty's here, that you shouldn't go into it with the mentality of solely making a community. Obviously, that will be a part of the journey, but you shouldn't go into it seeking that growth in its entirety, but more so focus solely on the interest and find those with similar interest and appreciation for those ideas. And slowly over time, you will see that there is a natural growth and development of the community as a whole.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I wouldn't really say there's an end game to ours, because we're recently also going to be releasing a new model as Rusty is as well. But most of the time we've got other versions, other models that people have made from similar looks to ours, or even different looks completely. And it's pretty much letting everyone create what they want and seeing how it grows into different forms. But I hopefully it doesn't end anytime soon. I'd be devastated. For Words of Wisdom, I'm blank on Words of Wisdom. I'm not really wise myself.
Oh. To answer the second question first, my first piece of advice is to be social. Get to know other people who manage communities, other people who know a lot about social dynamics and know a lot about how to get people together. Because just having that resource of someone you can talk to about these things is really amazing. You don't ever want to do anything alone, because when you have the ability to call upon people to help you with things, who, they have a lot of experience, they maybe want to help other people. When you have that opportunity, don't just throw it away. As for end goal, artists gotta eat. I make work. It's cool. I think I want to convert virtual noodle to real noodle. That way I can continue to survive. That's great. But in all seriousness, I'm going around here. People are really interested in this avatar model. There are a lot of weasel furries out there who feel like we do not have representation in VRChat, as silly as that sounds. They bring them a lot of joy if they had the ability to be to have this extreme length. So that is a big goal of the Longboy server, for example, is to just proliferate this thing, get it to the people who want it, because they really want it. Yeah.
Yeah, end goal for the Kanga community is basically just, to provide this, a niche avatar for whoever wants it. Initially, when it went public, I was mostly expecting, the occasional person, the occasional, Australian furry with a kangaroo sona to get it. But actually, surprisingly, quite a wide variety of people have gotten it and made all kinds of modifications to it, like deer modifications and such. So that was cool. The objective was just to give provide a specific avatar for whoever wants it. As for words of wisdom, I'll just quote the rules of the Kanga server, which is simply, don't be bad.
Don't be bad.
Good. Very good. We've been going on for about an hour now. I think we're going to take about maybe 3 or 4 more questions from the website. In the audience, I guess. Yep. What's up?
Yeah, so my question was, a lot of times in servers you have people who don't really engage with the community much. I believe the term is lurkers. So I guess my question was, is it better to try to get those people engaged with the community, and if so, how would you do that?
When it comes to getting people engaged with the community, what I find to be a really useful way to do that is to kind of make the community welcoming and make people want to be there. Like, don't be the one who goes out and pulls people in. Make yourself available, but also have the community members pull more people in. And by having lurkers there, the lurkers will be there no matter what you can do. But if they're lurking, that means they're looking at it. And a lot of people are really anxious about interacting with the community. So making the community a welcoming space is a really good way to get lurkers to the actual members, the full members.
I couldn't have said it better myself. My goodness.
I think what we should do now, instead of going down the list, we should just answer it if we want to answer it, so that no one's really feel like they're put on the spot. Then we can get through more questions.
I think you pretty much summed up our answers on that one.
Alright, cool.
I mean, what I would have to say quick is, don't worry too much about lurkers. And a lot of the lurkers in there, maybe your community has grown to, there's a critical mass point where your community reaches a critical mass where it'll start to be a bit more self-perpetuating. So, when you start off a new community, it's going to be dead for a while. It might be dead for a year. But eventually, once you know the people in there and then they start to know each other, they'll start talking on their own without your intervention. And the more conversations that are being had in the text channels, the more people who are hanging out in voice channels, you'll start to notice that they'll be in there even though you didn't start it. And then other people, those lurkers, have much more opportunity to jump in and weigh in on a conversation or join that voice channel. Otherwise, there's lurkers everywhere. There's a lot of people who just want to read. They don't want to partake, and that's fine too.
Yeah. I guess we'll take another one from the website real quick. We're gonna take about have another 3 questions from website, and maybe another couple if anyone else has any from here. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. How do all of you feel about the ups and downs of VRChat's development as a platform? And do you think there will be explosions like the Knuckles did ever again? Or are they possible in a slow burn?
Oh,
God. What I think personally is,
Oh, you go ahead.
Sure. No, okay, I'll go first then. What I personally see happening is that, I mean, COVID, this stuff here has brought a lot of people into this game now. Like, it's not really. This is like the second explosion for VRChat, I guess you could say, because you are getting a lot of people here, and probably a lot of them are going to stay part of the game after this is over. It's bringing a lot of people into the game. I feel it's going to continue going. Shell?
Honestly, this whole experience here, Furality, is kind of like that explosion. It might not be to the, 100% same degree as the Ugandan Knuckles was, or that kind of stuff, but it is inevitable because as social media functions, there will be new ideas, new creations, everything that'll come to light at one point or another, and the amount of traction it gains and the more it begins to trend or people begin to publicize it with videos, live streams, and advertising on various other social, outlets, it's going to inevitably grow and grow and grow. I do anticipate there'll be another boom of something similar to the Ugandan Knuckles. There's no way we can say for sure when, because it's mostly just a matter of the algorithm of, these social media platforms in which the creations here are shared upon. And, Furality is just one example of a big boom in the current ongoing lifespan of VRChat as a platform. And yeah, that's all I have to say in the matter.
The way I think about this is, if you take Minecraft as a case study, this is a game that you can clearly see there are two different levels of people being involved with it. In the beginning, and also in about 2017 or so, there are these two big bubbles of hype. And, you get the hype and all the people join, hundreds of millions in the case of Minecraft. And then that all just suddenly comes down. But what you're left with after the hype comes down is the remainder, which is the people who have stayed. So I always think about platforms, games, things like this as being composed of the hype people, and then there's the core audience who are actively playing the thing still. And every time there's a hype slope going straight up of people joining, that'll tail off pretty quick. But as it tails off, it'll always be a little bit higher than it was before, because that core audience who discovered this thing and actually been involved with it have expanded it. And so, I don't think we'll get anything quite to the scale of the Knuckles anytime soon, but obviously that's famous last words. But there's
oh no.
After that happened, after all of that stuff kind of slowed down. If you look on YouTube for VRChat, the number of views for VRChat videos daily is super high. And much higher than it was before the Knuckles thing. So every one of these hype trains that comes along, it leaves a lot behind it, even though the hype dies off pretty quick.
I think if a really good cheap VR headset comes out, that could be like a big spike in people joining VRChat. Especially so if when that happens, there's a lot more like interesting and interactive worlds that people have made with the Udon scripting language that was released recently. And that Udon itself, I think, will eventually lead to a lot of people joining VRChat, just because there's going to be such a high diversity of interesting interactive worlds. Which I'd argue already that's there, but it's going to get better from here on out.
Yeah, I guess we could answer one more question before we head out. It's getting a little late, and I believe some of us really do have to get going, unfortunately. But we will be staying around maybe for a little bit after the stream. I think this is a pretty good question to end off on. Where can we find all of your guys' social media and or community links? That's a pretty good question. I think I'm gonna send it all in our group chat. If we could all send like our little community links, we could put them in the Twitch chat. I feel that'd be the best way to end that off. So I guess that unless anyone else has any final words, I guess that this could be pretty much the end for the panel for now. It's been a lovely being with everyone here. It's been such a wonderful time. I can't thank you guys enough for your interest and for being a part of this thing, And about I'm sorry about all the unanswered questions. I was not expecting to get that many questions on from the panel. Hopefully, we can find a way to answer them at some point in the future.
We really appreciate all your guys' submissions.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah.
We got more,
And
way
thanks
more
to,
submissions than I was expecting.
And thanks to Furality for letting us host this
Yeah,
as
big
well,
thank
and
you to
for
having
filming it
this
too.
host this meeting. Yeah.
Thank you!
Now bash your controllers together.
$300 clapping together.
Oh my god!
What's with all those mic controllers?
Alright, Flammy is
Yeah, symbol.
Hello.
What?
That was so frustrating. My mic was completely broken in there, and I had to quit to get it to work again. Yeah.
Ooh.
That was you. Oh. Oh, hello.
Virgus, please give me one second. Virgus, one second. I'm gonna go ahead and log on to my other account, and I'm gonna get in VR. One second, okay? Just give me one second.
Hmm?
Oh shit.
The fuck?
What's that?
Huh. Oh wow.
Yeah, they probably just had to say
I don't know.
Yeah.
What?
I could not understand what that was about. Like,
Who said that, anyways?
I don't know if it's someone from
Was that from the live stream?
It was. Someone said that.
What the fuck? Like the recording person, the only. What the fuck? Oh shit! I know so many people there. I'm so jealous.
I don't know anyone in there. Like literally no one.
See, I know the bad guy, and yeah, pretty much that. And Rusty.
The only person I saw that was here a moment ago was Biogods.
Oh, and the low poly boy. I met him yesterday, but I don't remember his name. Very bad with names.
Lovely.
A bunch of wonderful boys.
Yeah, someone gave me $100. Yeah, sure, yeah.
Do I, what do I do? But I think I'll be okay.
Like I've had a
So I think I'm gonna end this in like 5 minutes because, as you can see, it's over and it's like 1:30 AM, and I'm gonna die. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's like my midlife crisis. I'm becoming canine.
Everyone left. Okay.
Everyone is dead. Yeah, I think I will
I
have.
wanna be in that room.
Hmm? Oh yeah, me too.
I wanna be in that room.
I want to. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Do it!
Whoa.
Didn't work. It didn't work.
What was that?
My portal animation. Zip. Zip.
That's cool.
Thank you. My favorite animation. Anyways, I think I will be leaving. It's like 1:30 AM and I have to work tomorrow. I will miss everything else. It's a shame.
Good night to you, sir.
Thank you, and have a nice one.
You too.
Boop. And there we go home. It's a shame I'm gonna be missing the next panels. If I'm muted, I'm gonna kill myself. Okay, I'm not muted. Hello to the people who's new to the stream. I'm gonna end this in... Oh, I think I'm alone. Yeah, I'm gonna end this in one moment. Welcome home. I love this world. It's so beautiful. Oh, I didn't remember. There was What that noise? What? Anyways, I think I'm gonna... Let's go. I think I'm gonna end this here. Let's check the chat for a second. But yeah, there's more Furality stuff going on soon. But I have to go to sleep because I will fucking die. So anyways, thank you so much for being here with me. I really appreciate that. And I hope you enjoyed the presentation thingy. And yeah, see you next time. Goodbye.